Hello, everybody. UFC Wildcat here.
And Powder Blue Bolts.
And this week, we are actually talking about the Capital One Bowl between the Georgia Bulldogs and the Nebraska Cornhuskers.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this one. Georgia facing a Nebraska team that had only 3 losses on the year. One of those being to Big Ten champion Wisconsin, another one being to Ohio State and UCLA. So three pretty good losses to good teams. So I feel like Nebraska can compete with Georgia, who actually could have been in the national championship game.
Yeah, I'm on the other side of the fence. I don't think Nebraska is going to compete in this game. There's a lot of factors that makes me think that Nebraska is really outmatched here, and a lot of it definitely circles around their 70-31 loss to Wisconsin in the Big Ten championship. A lot of people bookmarked, said Nebraska's in, wrote it in pen even, said Nebraska to the Rose Bowl, sign it, done, send it off, over. And then they get smacked like that. And it just shows a lot. Like, Taylor Martinez has definitely progressed from last year.
For sure.
I do think Taylor Martinez has definitely fixed his throwing motion. He used to dip his shoulder down to where it's almost touching his hip.
Tim
Tebow style, chucking it with his entire upper body. But he's got it going good right now, leading to, wrong team. No, right team.
Wow.
Oh, man. So bad. All over the place. But yes, Taylor Martinez does have 2,667 yards passing and 21 touchdowns on the year, which very remarkable mark. I think that's a very good stat for him because it's definitely an improvement. But a lot of the offense definitely is going to circle around the Nebraska running game. And it starts with their three-headed monster, which does include Taylor Martinez, a very good runner on the ground. You want to hit up on the 3 rushers? I mean, I've hit up on Taylor Martinez, but the other 2 big guys?
Yeah, Taylor Martinez, to go along with his 21 touchdowns through the air, also does have 10 on the ground and almost 1,000 yards rushing at 973. So he's a very, very big part of their offense. Another huge part of their offense is Rex Burkhead. A lot of people know this name. He's a really, really good running back for the Cornhuskers, but he was hurt a little bit this year, and those injuries held him to only 535 yards rushing on the year and only 4 touchdowns. But that did only come on 74 carries, and he's averaging 7.2 yards a carry. So this guy is really, really good, and he's one of those power backs that is not afraid to bowl you over. And we also have Amir Abdullah, who kind of took over the duties of running back for Burkhead, having over 1,000 yards on the year and 8 touchdowns. So those 3 guys can hurt you on the ground in every single way.
Yeah, definitely a big monster right there, which put Nebraska at the eighth overall rushing offense in the nation with 254.5 yards a game. Phenomenal, really. And while the passing is down, it's 91st in the nation. They do score their points, 27th overall in points scored with 35.1 points a game. What's really upsetting, though, as I'm not a defensive guy. I won't lie. I'm not going to say that. But I do love to watch some defensive plays, for sure. The black shirts is what they used to call them. They put on the black shirts on defense, and you'd fear the black shirts. You do not want to go up against the black shirts. Unfortunately, they have been really off this year. They're 56 overall in points allowed, 26.2 a game, and they've given up a healthy amount of points. 70 against Wisconsin is the first one that pops in my mind. They've given up a lot of 20-point games. They gave up 36 against UCLA, and very glaring to me in my eyes.
Gave up 63 to an Ohio State team that didn't score a whole lot of points in the season.
Yeah, it's very scary. That Braxton Miller offense really took off, and it kind of scares me. But let's flip over to the other side of the ball. Georgia, they're great both sides of the ball. They've got an NFL caliber quarterback in Aaron Murray. This guy almost has 3,500 yards passing and 31 touchdowns, which is phenomenal because if you look at his interceptions, he's only thrown 8. So I think Aaron Murray is capable. I think he's going to be a very comparable quarterback in the NFL next year.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And as far as defense goes, everybody knows Georgia has an awesome defense. As far as points allowed during the season, Georgia football, they ranked 17th in the nation at only 18.8 points a game. And playing in the SEC against those awesome offenses and also great defenses, that's a pretty high mark in my opinion. SEC teams kind of get that bump of being a little bit, a higher caliber, so we kind of view them as more talented and more competitive with each other. And as far as defense, their leader, Jarvis Jones, the defensive end, this guy finished actually 5th for the Heisman this year.
Yeah, and I really like Jarvis Jones. He's a great defender, a great linebacker, probably will be the first overall pick. He should be. But again, Kansas City, there's a bunch of NFL stuff. But definitely, Jarvis Jones is one of the best defensive players. Should have been up there with the Manti Te'o in my eyes, because this guy definitely wreaked havoc. He sort of had almost comparable stats to Manti Te'o, but again, didn't get that invite to New York, which is upsetting. But what's really good is you got the running game for Georgia. You got Todd Gurley, and this guy has 1,200 yards on the ground and has 16 touchdowns. But they also have another guy, Keith Marshall. This guy has 723 yards rushing and 8 touchdowns. So they've got a little two-headed monster of their own on the ground. So really acceptable. I really like where this is going. But I want to also highlight one of their receivers, because if the offense is going to go anywhere, at least through Aaron Murray, Travaris King, who's been there a while. I feel like he's been there a while. 846 yards receiving and 8 touchdowns. I think this guy is going to need to have some big plays for the Georgia offense to be able to move and be able to put points on the board against a pretty, lackluster black shirt defense. So what are some keys for Nebraska to win this game?
Yeah, Nebraska, I think facing that awesome Georgia defense, like we said, I think Taylor Martinez needs to really play a good game, limit his turnovers, if any. He needs to have a really good game on the ground and through the air and kind of exploit the very few weaknesses that this Georgia team has. And I think with the 1-2 punch of Rex Burkhead and Amir Abdullah, if you can get the ground game rolling as well, you can kind of give Martinez, take some pressure off of him and allow him to get comfortable in the pocket and really have a good game throwing through the air.
Yeah, I agree with that. And on the other side of the ball, what's going to help Nebraska really sucks. John Jenkins, the D tackle for Georgia, has been ruled academically ineligible for this game. He will not be playing the Capital One Bowl. So people like Jarvis Jones, Bakari Rambo in the secondary, they are going to have to step up for this Georgia defense. If there's going to be any, or if they're going to, fill in for John Jenkins. Because, again, that's a big loss in the middle of the defense where Rex Burkhead loves to burrow his way in, get those little yards. So, yeah, I think Georgia needs to play solid defense, maybe kind of regroup themselves, because after a horrible loss to Alabama in the championship game where their wide receiver caught the ball, his name is Chris Conley, caught the ball short of the goal line after it was deflected. The time expired, and it was so depressing. You saw Aaron Murray. He said he hasn't been getting sleep. They need to get passes. They can't be dwelling on losing this and not going to the national title. Aaron Murray needs to realize that he needs to play and win his final game of his career at Georgia, or else, this could get ugly the other way. So what's your prediction for the game?
Yeah, unless Georgia has some sort of, they're not over the SEC title game, or they're just playing a really bad game like they did against South Carolina, I don't really see them losing this one. Their defense is as solid as it gets, and their offense is as good as any offense in the nation. I think they're going to win pretty big. I think it's going to be about 56-21 Georgia, because this Nebraska team has just played to the level of their competition all year, and they've gone into games kind of overconfident like we saw against Wisconsin, and I really don't see them winning unless, again, Georgia has a really bad game. So I'm going to say 56-21 Bulldogs.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I mean, there's a lot of things in my eyes that really, takes a notch down for this Nebraska defense, or this Nebraska team altogether. The loss at Ohio State's really glaring. The loss to Wisconsin, who a lot of people, have had a down. Wisconsin's had a real down year, but they're in the Rose Bowl, and Nebraska's not. They have to go to the Capital One Bowl. And again, we go back to that reoccurring theme of motivation. Is Nebraska motivated after getting trounced? Is Georgia motivated after getting trounced, or after a heartbreaking loss in the championship game? I think Georgia will regroup. Aaron Murray's a better quarterback than that. I do not see him, dwelling on the past any longer. He's had his time to dwell, and now it's time to focus, put blinders on. It is all beating Nebraska, and I think they'll do it. I think kind of similar to you, but I think it'll be Nebraska will have a few more stops. I think it'll be like a 42-9 game. Yeah, the Georgia defense is a lot better, but again, so does the Nebraska defense. I think a 42-9 victory for the Georgia Bulldogs is very reasonable.
All right, that's going to be all for this episode. Be sure to join us next week for the Outback Bowl, featuring the South Carolina Gamecocks and the Michigan Wolverines.
Remember to leave us a like, comment about what you think is going to happen in the game, and definitely subscribe. This is our last bowl before we start getting into those BCS bowls. UFC Wildcat and Powder Blue Bolts signing out.